It does have a coconut flavour, in fact. Not sure how much. No. Hello, and welcome to another episode of More Blore with me, James Blore. I have another food fight for you this time between Slovak sweets and British sweets. Who will win? And is Margot truly edible? Stick with me for the next few minutes and find out. First of all, I think it would be a good idea to define exactly what I mean by sweets. I'm going to take it to mean anything which is for eating and is relatively small and is full of sugar. And this could be anything from bars of chocolate through various chocolate bars, all the way over to stuff like boiled sweets and pick and mix. This roughly corresponds, I think, to what Slovaks would call sladkosti. Although I think sometimes that term might include stuff like cakes and ice cream in its broadest sense. I'm not talking about sweet stuff in general, I'm just talking about sugary confectionery. So chocolates and sweets, if you like. Or for Americans, I guess it would be candies? Is that all candies? Write in the comments and let me know what about the terminology. Okay, now we've got that cleared up, I think we should start at the very beginning of my sweet journey. When I was at primary school, there was a shop over the road, which we will call the sweet shop. They did sell other things, but that was of little concern to me as a 9-year-old. What I was interested in was the huge range of bottles, large plastic bottles, containers about this big, full of sweets in the most traditional sense. So sugar and flavour and, you know, very little else. And they had lemon flavoured sweets and cola flavoured sweets and rhubarb and custard flavour sweets. And you could buy any of these and they would serve them to you. You know, they'd scoop them out of the bottle and put them in a little paper bag for you. And generally speaking, you'd buy them by the quarter, which is, I think, about 100 grams in modern terms. So you'd ask for a quarter of cola cubes, please, or a quarter of blackcurrant licorice. I'm not sure if there was anything like that in Slovakia back in the day, but I certainly haven't seen anything like it since I've been here. And honestly, it's disappearing from British high streets as well, as these sort of traditional sweet shops are replaced by, you know, packets of sweets and indeed chocolate bars. None of the paper bags, and you can't have a quarter of this or a half of that. It's very sad. The earliest sweets that my wife remembers in Slovakia are things like bedapové tčinky, which is, I think it's like sort of English rock, but in England rock is just, well, typically sold at the seaside, although they might have other types. So there's that, which is, again, you know, it's sugar and flavouring, I guess. And the same thing is used to make the lollipops, which have this sort of wonderful sort of naive quality. The pictures on them, I like them. They're still available now. And that in a different form, I think, is Doxy Roxy, which is really the same thing, but just wrapped into individual wrappers. I did find something even older than that, which is still on the market, and that is Arizonky. This is the sweet version. I believe there is a savoury version called Burizonky. It says original since 1966, and it's I think it's flavoured puffed rice. My daughter actually wants to see me eating this for the first time ever, so I can't open that on camera, but I will eat some other stuff later. These days, I think it's fair to say that the sort of non-chocolate sweets tend to come in bags. So in Britain, we have jelly babies, which are kind of soft, squidgy, and they're in the shape of babies, and you can bite their heads off. We also have sherbet lemons, which are a traditional one, which I would have bought, you know, in a paper bag back in the day. Love those. They're obviously lemon flavoured with a bit of sherbet, or, I mean, sherbet is just sugar with citric acid, like a sour thing in the middle. They can sometimes make your tongue hurt, but delicious nonetheless. My personal favourites are probably blackcurrant licorice, which is like a hard outside flavoured with blackcurrant, and in the middle there is a bit of licorice, which might be in Slovak pelendrek. It's black and it has a very particular flavour of licorice. Do let me know if I've made a mistake with that in the comments. The nearest thing I could find in Slovakia to that would be probably this sort of newer version of Hašlerky, which is blackcurrant flavoured. Hašlerky are a kind of I think traditionally they were something you had when you had a cough or a sore throat, and there are lots of those. There's also Crowky, I think, for a similar purpose. These are sort of eucalyptus flavour, and maybe Slavia it was used also. And then there are other ones that these are pretty old. I think these are pretty traditional in Slovakia. Pari, and these are the ones that I showed you earlier. These are sort of traditional, very plain boiled sweets, but very nice actually. Very nice, very nice. Just sugar and fruit flavour. And they do, of course, like everything else, they do 100 different varieties these days with super sour ones and blah, blah, blah. But the originals are the best, usually. Snehulky. Snehulky, this might remind British viewers of, what are they called? Fox's Glacier Mints. With a polar bear, but they're nothing like that. It's a trap. Don't come to Slovakia and think that these are Fox's Glacier Mints. Fox's Glacier Mints are hard and minty. These are soft and minty. I'm not a massive fan, but my wife loves them, and she apparently used to steal them from her grandmother's hiding place underneath the pillow. So, there you go. In terms of mint, we do have quite a lot of stuff in Britain, and the classic ones, I guess, would be Polos, which I'm surprised you can't really get. It's like they seem like it seems to, in my mind, like a huge international brand, but maybe it's not. Polos, they're little mints with a hole in the middle, classically flavoured, just sugar and mint flavour. And then I think probably a bit more recently, or I might be wrong, we've got stuff like Trebor and other kinds of extra strong mint, which are sort of powdery, sugary, and very strongly minty flavoured for when you've been eating smelly things or smoking, I guess. There's also a ton of chewy sweets in England. I don't have too many representatives, but I found these the other day, which are a real blast from the past. Chewits, little squares, and you chew them. They're not hard at all, but they might have your fillings out. And then various bars. I remember Wham bars, and also Refreshers, one of my daughter's favourites. Similar sort of thing, sort of bendy and chewy, and these are quite sour, I think. And speaking of sour, there's a huge range of gummy sweets in Slovakia, made by Jojo and the, I guess it's German invader, Haribo. And some of them are just, like gummy bears and stuff like that. And quite a lot of them, though, are sour in the same way that in Britain fizzy cola bottles would be sour. So it's got a dusting of sugar and, I guess, again, citric acid. Very nice. These are what they call Kyslé Žížalky. I guess that might be Czech. And in Slovak, that would be Kyslé Žížalky. It's interesting that a lot of these products probably are made in the Czech Republic, but they're distributed in both countries. So they very often have both English. They have both the Czech version of the name and the Slovak version of the name, if it's different, and it's not always different. Before I move on from that kind of sweet, one thing I could mention, which I have also not seen in Slovakia, is pick and mix, which basically, I'll try to put some photos on the screen. You can't even see in there. Okay, you get a cup, okay, or it might have been a bag back in the day, and you fill it with lots of sweets from a large selection of little sweets, and you have little scoops, and you can take as many as you want from each different section. You fill your cup as much as you can, and you pay for it by weight. I've never seen anything like that in Slovakia. It's a shame. I like pick and mix, and the individual sweets that you get in there, they're like sort of gummy fried eggs, which don't taste of eggs, but they do look like eggs, or cola bottles, so little gummy things which look like a small cola bottle, or a fizzy cola bottle, which is the same thing with sugar and citric acid on, and loads of stuff like that. I think there were white mice. They were nice. Little, well, they weren't nice. They were disgusting, but they're nice. That kind of nostalgic thing. Little sort of chocolate white mice. Anyway, I haven't seen anything like that in Slovakia. Please let me know in the comments if you have. My daughter suggested that might be because pick and mix became popular as a concept before the fall of communism. And the communist ethos was not really, as far as I understand it, forgive me if I'm making a mistake, but I don't think they sort of encouraged picking and mixing. It was more a case of zober a buď rád, take and be happy that you have these sweets, not take what you want in any combination that you want. In any case, that's definitely a British tradition, I would say. Let's move on from that to the massive world of chocolate. I'm not a huge fan of stuff which is just chocolates. I like to have a little bit of biscuit mixed with it, or some sort of flavouring like raspberry or orange. So I'm quite a big fan of Terry's chocolate orange, I feel like this used to be associated in Britain with Christmas, but I think they're probably available all year round now in various different types. But chocolate orange flavour. This is like an orange wrapped in silver foil, and you're supposed to tap it and it breaks into segments like an orange. And this is milk chocolate with orange flavouring. I think you can get them in plain as well. They do have plenty of stuff like that in Slovakia, but not so much orange chocolate. It is becoming a thing these days, but traditionally it was more sort of this kind of thing. Good Czechoslovak studentská pečet, which is a little bit like fruit and nuts, Cadbury's fruit and nut, very popular in Britain. But it also contains jelly, which I kind of took exception to when I first came here. I was like, oh, I don't like the jelly. But like with Horálky in the previous episode, I kind of got used to it, and actually I quite like it now. What I don't like, and my daughter would like me to point this out, is that the packaging has changed from paper and silver foil, which was kind of cool, to plastic, which is both not cool and not very environmentally friendly, I guess. But change it back. I think it's Orion, is it? Change it back, please, Orion, if you're listening. They also have different flavours these days. This one is mostly eaten. This one has raspberry flavour, which I like. I think that's a good combination. For me, I like chocolate with a little bit of a sharp flavour like orange or raspberry. Also very popular in Slovakia are Milka products and also Kinder products. I don't have any of those. I find those very sweet. They're not originally Slovak, but they are incredibly popular. This sort of thing is my nemesis, really. I mean, I said I didn't like just chocolate, but I also don't like chocolate with added sugar, and it makes my teeth itch just to think about it. So those are chocolate bars. I would say that, as I say, popular in Britain is Dairy Milk. I think is the most popular chocolate brand. I'm not really a fan. I don't want to spoil anyone's day, but yeah, maybe I'm just not that into chocolate. Certainly not milk chocolate. But Dairy Milk is not the greatest, in my opinion. I do like it with a bit of fruit and nut. That cuts through the chocolate for me. But anyway, so those are chocolate bars, or rather bars of chocolate. If we're going to make a distinction, I think we could talk about chocolate bars, which could be like stuff like this. Crunchie. I have a small one from a multi-pack and a big one. Even the big ones are not as big as they used to be. And this is honeycomb, which is melted sugar, and then you toss in some bicarbonate of soda, and it all fizzes up, and you get this wonderful, well, I would call it cinder toffee. It used to be sold in sweet shops, maybe still is, without the chocolate covering, as cinder toffee. Sort of crunchy, golden, yum, yum, yum. But these days, it tends to come covered in chocolate and is sold by Cadbury's, and it's called Crunchie. And you get other stuff like Fry's chocolate cream, one of our favourites. I would have sworn a few years ago that this was mint flavour. I know there is a mint variety, but this is not mint. And yet in my head it is. But it's nice. It's fondant, which is just some incredibly sweet, sugary filling surrounded by chocolate. It's, yeah, just a lot of sugar, really. And the absolute biscuit taker of those kind of things is the Cadbury's cream egg. I think I had a comment on a previous video cussing me for saying that the Horálky are a bit sweet. They said, you know, take your Cadbury's cream eggs and something rude. Well, that person was correct. Cadbury's cream eggs are disgustingly sweet. It's just chocolate in the shape of an egg, filled again with fondant, but it's just so much. You can feel the diabetes coming on as you put it in your mouth. No, not a fan. And I think Slovak stuff tends to be a bit less, on the whole, a bit less sweet than that. You have things like banani v čokoládě, sort of banana jelly rather than fondant, surrounded by chocolate. And then a classic brand in Czechoslovakia, I think, is Deva, which is chocolate surrounded by chocolate, I think. Quite nice, actually. And then I was asked to mention Kaštany, which is a kind of ladová chocolate, ice chocolate, which I feel like is a different processing method, and it gives a particular texture to it. They come in all different flavours. And then there are Deli. Used to love these when I was in Humane, but now I have one, and it's just, I mean, this really is almost Cadbury's cream egg levels of sweetness. I can't handle it anymore. I'm happy to say, honestly. Then there are, and I think I mentioned in the last video, there are tons of wafer biscuits, and a lot more of those in Slovakia than there are in Britain. And I think part of the reason for that could be that there's an overlap really between the biscuit sector and the chocolate bar sector. So something like Lina, which several people mentioned in the comments, is really nice. And I guess in my head, this is a bit more of a, I mean, clearly it is a wafer biscuit, but it sort of fits in this video more than in that one for me. And Fidorka, which I actually did speak about in that video, is, you know, it's the same kind of thing as Crunchie or the British double decker, which is chocolate and nougat, sort of chewy, sweet, fondant stuff, also covered in chocolate. I don't have much of a sweet tooth for these days. I can't handle them. There's the Slovak rumba. A popular thing in Slovakia seems to be flavouring things with rum, or sort of fake rum, I guess it is. I'm not a drinker. I'm definitely not a drinker of rum, and I'm definitely not a fan of fake rum flavouring. So this is not for me. I think another one that might have that same sort of flavour is Margot, which I showed you at the beginning of the video. I have had these once, and it's got this sort of tropical feeling. It's got like a palm tree on it. It shows you a coconut, but I think it's not like, there's another chocolate called Kokos, which actually is made from coconut, and maybe that's a little bit like Bounty, I guess, at least in spirit. I'm not an expert on such thing. This one has the coconut on the front, so I guess there's some sort of coconut in it, probably, or flavour. But I think it's actually filled with some kind of soya stuff. And that brings me to Sojové Rezy, or I think they're also called Sojové Kreme, maybe? I'll show you both of them. I've never eaten one of these. Okay, I've lived here for 27 years. They're very popular. I guess this is a Czech one because it's got some Czech writing on it, but they're dead popular. You get them next to the till, and I suppose if I was going to point out any difference between the British stuff and the Slovak stuff, there is a lot of sweet stuff in both countries, but there's probably more super duper sweet Cadbury's cream egg stuff in Britain. Now, of course, you do have Deli, as I mentioned, and then there's a bit more slightly healthier stuff, less super sweet stuff in Slovakia. So I'm going to give this a go, okay? I'm going to eat this live on camera. My first time eating what looks like, honestly, not something that I would want to eat. Okay, this is a Sojové Rezy, and it's made from soya, and I suspect it might have some sort of rum flavouring. God, I don't know. Smells like it. Hang on. It's actually not that bad. It's okay. I kind of built it up in my mind to be much more disgusting than it really is. It's okay. I think it does have a bit of a rum flavour to it, which I'm not a fan of, but there's a lot of sugar there, so I'm not really sure how healthy it is in actual fact, but no chocolate, I suppose. Okay, Sojové Rezy. I've been very rude about you in the past, and maybe I was a little unfair. Let's try the Margot, because I built this up a little bit as inedible. Oh, you know, Sojové Rezy, not bad, actually. Okay, so Margot is just like, it looks like a standard chocolate bar. And it has the tropical vibe going on. It does have a coconut flavour, in fact. I'm not sure how much. No. It's got something that I don't like there. Maybe it's that rum thing? God, it's very sweet. Okay, no, it is edible. I confess that Margot is edible. It's not to my taste. Let's leave it there. That just about covers everything, I think, except boxes of chocolate, which in Britain would be stuff like, do they still have Black Magic or Terry's All Gold? I'm sure they still have dairy milk. So those are, you know, cardboard boxes with plastic inserts and lots of individual chocolates, which in my opinion all taste the same. I'm not a huge fan. I don't really like them in Britain, and I certainly don't like them in Slovakia. I think in Slovakia they're called deserty, which is kind of confusing. So that would be a box of chocolates in English. Just to wrap the video up, I have been given some American chocolate by a very kind student. Thank you, Susanna. And also Marcella, who gave me a different kind of American chocolate. So we have to taste some, I think these are called Reese's Cups. So like Reese's Pieces peanut butter kind of thing, which I like. I don't need to taste them. They're delicious. Okay, I like them quite a lot. And then we also have some Hershey's. And this is a Harry Potter branded thing, and I think this is called a Hershey's Kiss. I had these years ago, and they were brought to me by a student who'd been to America, and I tried them, and some of them were fine. You know, Reese's, not a problem. Really quite, well, it's obviously very sweet, but it's nice. And then I had some of the Hershey's stuff, and it was super weird. It felt like it was out of date, like it was bad, like it had gone off. And then I saw a video on YouTube not that long ago, and apparently they add an ingredient, I guess it's used as a preservative, to the Hershey's chocolate, which is one of the chemicals. Now, forgive me if I'm I'm slandering Hershey's here, but I think it is one of the chemicals that is also found in vomit. And that is what it tastes like. To me, I guess if you're American and you're used to Hershey's, it probably tastes fine. But my experience is really very negative, I have to say. And this is not all American chocolate, but I think specifically Hershey's. I'm going to unwrap one and I'm going to pop it in my mouth. And I did this last week, so I know what it's going to taste like. But oh my God, it's really not nice for me. I guess if you're used to it, you maybe don't even notice it. Not a fan. It's like when you've been, forgive me, it's like when you've been sick and you have that sort of aftertaste in your mouth. Well, you try to sort of wash it away with water, which, oh, Jesus Christ. There is some nice chocolate there, but that overwhelming vomity flavour is not what I would call a pleasure. Finally, I have a couple of other things, actually two other things, which are sort of often bought in Slovakia but don't come from Slovakia. There are plums. It's not really plums, it's more like prunes. So dried plums in chocolate. These ones I bought in Lidl, so they're not. But typically you get them, they're imported from Ukraine, or people go to Ukraine and bring them back. And they're absolutely bloody delicious and probably a little bit healthy because, you know, prunes are good for you, apparently. So prunes in chocolate, top. And another thing which comes from abroad is, I think they're often called Krowky, but I suspect, please, Polish viewers, tell me if I'm wrong, I think they might be properly pronounced Krówki, which is, you know what, I'll get one out, another incredibly sweet thing. It's basically fudge, if you know what fudge is. In Britain we have, you know, I was talking about boiled sweets earlier. Well, I think you have to take the sugar to a slightly lower temperature, probably, and you mix it with cream when it's hot, I think. And that makes a sort of squidgy, incredibly sweet, just incredibly sweet kind of. It's okay. It's way too sweet for me, but they're very popular as well. So when people go to Poland, they'll bring back Krówki. Okay. Oh my God. I might be going. Too much sugar. Okay, I think I might have to go and have a little lie down while my heart palpitates. Thank you very much indeed for watching. I hope that's been somewhat interesting for you. Please do check out the other video, which was about, what was it about? It was about biscuits, okay? Lots of Slovak and British biscuits. And keep an eye out. Do subscribe and click the notification bell and stuff, because I'll be doing more videos, I think, on crisps and savoury snacks for the next one, and also hot and cold drinks. So please do join me again. Also, of course, check out the podcast if you're interested in that kind of thing. Thank you very much. This has been More Blore. I've been James. Thank you and goodbye.